Good morning, everybody. Hi, it's a beautiful September morning. I'm Liz Krueger. I'm a state senator, and I'm very proud to host these virtual roundtables for older New Yorkers. Today's event will be new technology designed with older adults in mind. I want to start off reminding everybody, whether they're on Facebook or Zoom, that this is the fourth session we've done this year. And if you missed the earlier ones, you actually can get them on my websites. This morning's program will be focused on technology that older adults can and should know about and perhaps be using. As always, we have closed captioning for today's event. As a viewer, you have to activate closed captioning to view the text on your device. So right away, a technology assignment. If you're in Zoom, click on live transcript in the meeting controls to start viewing closed captioning. If you're in the Facebook Live version, you'll see a setting button on the bottom right-hand corner of the video. Click CC for closed captioning to activate the process. As always, we are recording this forum, and everyone who RSVP'd will receive an email with a link to the event video and the resources that are posted in the chat within a few days, along with the presenter's PowerPoints. So don't feel like you have to be scribbling crazily with your pen or pencil on every piece of information, because you're going to get it sent to you in ways that you can continue to access the information as you need it. So moving to today's event, technology impacts every aspect of our lives. I'm often frustrated by technology. Myself, I am an older New Yorker. From the large volume of calls my office gets, I know that many of you feel the same way. Despite the challenges, technology can really make our lives easier, and there are many new devices that can help support you as you age in place in the community, and actually make your life a lot more fun also. For example, I was listening to Taylor Swift all morning on my computer because I just can't seem to get her out of my mind right now. Today, you will hear about technology classes geared toward the way older people learn and the state-of-the-art devices that are designed for you in mind. You will hear from expert speakers, Tom Kamber, Executive Director of the Older Adults Technology Services, most of us know them as OATS, Alex Guitelman, owner of ResponseLink Manhattan, and Mark Surabian, an assistant technology consultant at the Marlene Myerson JCC over on the west side. After the presentations by each of them, I will moderate a Q&A portion of today's events. We got many questions in advance, but you also still have an opportunity to type your questions in as you are listening to the presentation. We will try to get to as many as possible. Trust me, we never get through all of them. So with that, I'm going to first hand it over to Tom from OATS. Thank you for being with us, Tom.
Thank you for having me, Senator Krueger. I'm very excited to be here doing this. You and I have been talking about technology and aging for close to 20 years now, I think. And your team at your office has been really supportive of our work. So I'm very pleased to be here to give kind of an update on what we're doing at OATS and a little bit of information about some specific technologies that people might be interested in. So I'm going to share my screen, and there is a PowerPoint here. So it will take one moment while I bring it up. Let's see here. And share. And you should see a slideshow. Let's see here. There you go. So we should see start this at the top. Hold on one second. And just back it up. Slideshow is not cooperating. Give me 1 second. Try one more time. Yeah, there we go. So just to kind of reiterate, my name is Tom Kamber. I'm the Executive Director of Older Adults Technology Services, OATS, from AARP. We are a New York-based nonprofit organization that helps older adults learn technology. We started right here in Brooklyn in 2004, and we have grown to become a national organization. Now, we teach classes all over America, but our headquarters is still right here in New York City. I'm in Manhattan today. And we run the Senior Planet Center, which is the first technology-themed community center for older adults in the country, which currently is located on 25th Street here in Manhattan. But we're moving the center just this fall to 30th Street. So keep an eye out for notification about the new Senior Planet Center opening sometime later this fall. I will be putting some information in the chat, including some links to our website and including a technology report that people can read at your leisure. But I'm going to go through a little bit of information, show you a few slides, and then expect people can ask more detailed information during the question and answer period. So key facts about OATS. I mentioned we're a nonprofit. Many people know us as Senior Planet, and the reason for that is that all of our programs that are working with older adults directly use that brand, that name, Senior Planet. It's more of a community for older people that are learning. So we're sort of interchangeable that way. People can see us as OATS or Senior Planet. There's not much distinction. We have an impact model that takes the idea that we're not just about technology, but as a nonprofit social impact organization, we're focused on ways that technology can change how we age. And so we're really interested in things like, did a person using technology make more friends? Are they more socially connected? Is somebody getting access to benefits or financial support that they may need? Are you able to manage your healthcare or do physical activity in a better way? We're really interested in how technology has impact and helps people with activities of their lives that are really important. Our program channels include an online program that we provide through seniorplanet.org. And again, I'm going to put all this stuff in the chat so you'll have access to it. But the website content, they have classes every single day. We teach over 5,000 classes online every year. We teach in Spanish and Chinese as well. And then we have center programs in New York City, as I mentioned, at the main site that we have, but also at community centers all over New York City and even across the state. We teach up in the North Country in Plattsburgh and other locations with support from Senator Krueger and the rest of our legislature. So it's been a real success story there. And then finally, we joined AARP 3 years ago as a charitable affiliate. So AARP is kind of a sister partner for us now, and they provide some support for our programs so that we can reach a national footprint. And last year we had 550,000 people across the country who took one of our classes or participated in one of our programs. And we have 450 local site partners across the country that are teaching our classes and programs at community centers. So it's been a really exciting period for growth for us. This is just a quick image of some Senior Planet activists here out in Queens. But one of our big categorical ideas is that we talk about using technology to age in new and active ways. And we say it's aging with attitude. That's our tagline here. I mentioned our different channels that we teach through here. And this is a quick, just an image of our New York Center that is a really welcoming and open place. All of the programs are free to older adults who want to use them and come in. And so it can be really helpful for people that are first timers or don't want to have to worry about cost or paying for classes to be able to come in and get free programming. I'll also note that there's a hotline here on this slide at the bottom. I'm going to put that in the chat. And it's a hotline that's available Monday through Friday, 9 to 8 p.m., 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And it's a really great resource for people just to call and ask questions. So you're going to get those. We're always happy to answer your questions. We have a staff here. Most of the folks are older adults that are answering the questions at the hotline as well. Every year we go to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas and we survey all of the best technology that's going on there. We actually bring older adults into the technology show itself and have an opportunity to walk around and get people's reactions to what seems useful and ask questions and talk to people that run the companies. And then we put out an annual technology review. Again, that's going to be in the chat so you can read the whole thing, but some of the comments I'm going to make here are related to content from that review. Just a couple quick things to think about in terms of what tech is helpful for older adults. One is we recommend that people use, at least start with some kind of a mainstream platform. So if you don't have a smartphone or a laptop or a notebook or something, it's helpful to start with some kind of mainstream platform that a lot of other people are using in your family or your community. And we like 3 areas that we teach on are Chromebooks, which are essentially big laptops. They're laptops that use the internet for most of their information, and so they're comparatively affordable. So all the OATS centers teach on Chromebooks. We teach on a lot of information on iPads for people that are looking for that tablet framework, because the iPads are very popular. And then for people that are working in an office or need to be using a lot of professional materials, we also teach on those PC-based laptops that are very important for the workplace. Other major topics that we get involved in a lot, and again, we have hundreds and hundreds of different classes we teach. But lately, in the last few years, we've taught a lot about smart home automation. Many people are using technology for their doorbell, or for managing their lighting, or managing their electricity usage, even checking the weather and having a weather station at home. And so that smart home automation is a really popular topic for people. And many of those devices have become mature enough that they're quite useful for older adults. And people in their 70s and 80s and 90s are learning and deploying those devices at home without any major difficulty. So we do recommend you consider those. Virtual reality has been around for quite a few years now, but this last couple of years, it is really maturing as well. And so there's an extraordinary range of virtual reality tools there now. So this is an Oculus that this woman has on her head in the picture. But now Apple has a new device out that's very well regarded. And there are actually people doing, we've been testing virtual reality programs for fitness. People are using it for exercising at home, and even meditation and guided meditation programming and things like that. So virtual reality can be a really interesting and helpful kind of cutting edge technology for people. And then last but not least, we're hearing a lot about artificial intelligence and AI, and OATS has been working really closely on now nationally with OpenAI, which is one of the principal organizations that's working in the field, to develop some training and some resources for older adults related to artificial intelligence. We've been testing it. We just finished doing a survey that we're about to release, and we actually have a report coming out on how older adults can work with artificial intelligence and how to protect yourself, how to utilize it where it's appropriate, and make the most of it. There's a video here of one of our participants. It will take about 1 minute. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hold that and skip over it, because I want to make sure we are able to see the other speakers. And if we have time, we'll show our video at the very end. But just kind of key things we've learned of 20 years in the field for folks that are looking to learn. Number one is, I always say, treat technology like a language. It's something you have to spend months kind of chipping away at and building a little bit of skill and knowledge around. But eventually it starts to kind of fit together and make sense. But it's not something you're typically going to learn in a 2-hour session and then you're all up to speed. It takes a little bit of time and practice to get good at technology. Secondly, very importantly, what we've learned with older adults is start with your goals. A lot of people start with the technology. They go to a store, or their younger family member says, hey, I think you should learn this, or you should use that because it's cool, or it's becoming popular. But you really need to stop and ask yourself, what's important in your life? And if you know what you're really focusing on is your health or fitness, then start adopting technology related to health and fitness. If you know you're focusing more on your financial security, then you can think a little bit about technology that's going to be useful for you to save money, or to shop in more targeted ways, or even to access benefits or get employment. So learning technology that's linked to your goals turns out to be one of the major factors in how successful people are with it. Third, we always recommend you join a group. This is a picture of our Senior Planet program in Miami. But there are lots and lots of programs around the country at libraries and senior centers. New York is full of these programs. OATS teaches many of them, but you'll find them really through a lot of different local community programs. But it really helps to be part of a group of people that are learning tech together, so that you can get some support and sort of recognition from people that share a lot of your experience with technology. And then finally, as I mentioned, use at least some mainstream technologies. Sometimes people get so focused on the senior-only technology or an assistive device that they don't have access to a mainstream tool that is quite commonly used by their friends and family. And so don't be afraid of trying an iPad or a Chromebook, or using Gmail or some of these very popular technologies, it is helpful to get comfortable with those and be part of the tech mainstream as things are developing. This is a little bit of information about OATS. Again, this slide will be included in the materials that Senator Krueger's office sends out afterwards. Our hotline is right there, and our website is here as well, seniorplanet.org. And we have a community on seniorplanet.org for people that want to share information and have stuff around decluttering your apartment or sharing photographs and things like that. All of that's available on Senior Planet. And this is our information at OATS as well that will be in the materials sent out after the event. So that is my quick presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm sure there will be questions, but I think we're going to be answering those questions later on in the session.
Thank you, Tom. That was terrific. And yes, we will definitely have lots and lots of questions on the issues you did the quick overview on. Okay, our next presenter is Alex Guitelman, who's the owner of ResponseLink Manhattan. Good morning, Alex, and thank you for being with us. I think you're there, Alex. Oh, there you are. Okay, you need to take mute
I'm
off.
muting myself. Hi.
Excellent.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Alex Guitelman. I'm the owner of ResponseLink of Manhattan, and we are a dealer of personal emergency response systems for people that live at home, seniors, and people that want to remain independent. We can go to the next slide. I'm going to go. So what is a personal emergency response system? It's basically when I see a client and people want to know why do they need it, and that they claim, I don't need this, I'm not old, I don't need this, I can deal with stuff. And I usually tell them, this is a good device for you. It's just a little device that would help you in the event that you need help. And other times, it's just sitting there collecting dust. So it's not something, it's not a stigma, it's just a device that would help you remain independent. So from my slide, you can see that, personal emergency response systems came out in the 70s. They were basically a device that was a little button, a radio transmitter, a two-way intercom kind of console connected to the phone line, and it all connected to an emergency response center that was available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Eventually, some of the call for help even when the user is not able to press dependent. So this way they can get better help. We can go to the next slide. Lately, the new devices are not just in the old days, you needed the phone line in order to connect to a emergency response system. These days there are new devices called MPERS, that the mobile personal emergency response systems that don't require a phone line. They work like little cell phones, so you can carry with them everywhere, not just at home. Anywhere that is a cellular system, you can use those devices. So we can go to the next slide. What are the advantages of having an emergency response system? It's you can get help right away. You press a button and you can connect to a monitoring center that's available, like I said before, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there is usually there's a technician, an operator, a specialist that's able to deal with medical issues, emergencies, or it doesn't have to be a medical emergency. It could be just a safety issue. So a device such a medical alert, a personal emergency, it doesn't have to be medical. It's something that will allow you to stay home and remain more independent longer. Next slide. So this is a basic slide that shows you what a PERSA is, a personal emergency response system. You have a button that can be either activated by pressing it, or it has some sensor that will detect the fall. That device would connect you to a monitoring center where you will talk to a specialist, an operator that will ask you if you need help. And they will evaluate the situation. Not every incident requires an ambulance. It could be that you tell the operator, I don't need an ambulance, but please call my neighbor. Please, if you live in a building with a doorman, you can ask them to call the doorman. It doesn't have to be necessarily an ambulance. And then if you require an ambulance, the operator will make sure that you get help. Next slide. And then if you have a list of contacts, those people in your contact list will get notified that you were either transported to a hospital or whatever event happened. Also, having a medical alert, it's a way to, if you can afford full-time help in your house with an aide, this will allow you to remain independent and be able to have a part-time help as opposed to somebody 24 hours a day if you don't need 24 hours a day. It gives your family members and your caregivers some peace of mind knowing that you are taken care of either by a caregiver or by a personal emergency response system. Next slide. So what are different kind of personal emergency response systems? I can show you several of the most popular devices we're using these days. Next slide, please. So what you see in this slide, it's the basic medical alert system that's just for the house. It comprises of the console that I spoke about before. It's a box that has a speaker and a microphone that's connected to your phone line. And you see on the device, it might have a button that says help and an extra button to either reset calls or to manage the device. You can wear it with a pendant around your neck or a bracelet, or they have also some fall detectors, a device that will detect the fall without you having to activate it. Most of these devices are waterproof. The batteries last for a long time, but you do require a phone line at home. This has to connect to a regular phone line, an old-fashioned copper line, or if you have a voice over internet, such as a cable phone, that would work too. This is a good system for people that just need something for when they're home alone. So it's a basic system, very popular, and one of the simplest solutions. Next step. Next slide, please. Then, lately, like I mentioned before, there are these new devices that don't just work at home. They work inside and outside the home. They don't require a phone line. They have a built-in speaker and a microphone into the device. They have also the optional fall detector. They are water resistant. They can be used in the shower, and they do have to be charged because they include a little battery. And depends on the options on the device, the batteries can last up to 30 days. Next, please. Also, other new devices that are out there in the market now are like bracelets. Also, they are medical alerts that work inside and outside the house. And just like the pendant too, they have GPS location. So it means if you're not home, you can be if you press the button and you don't know where you are, the device can locate you using different technologies like GPS, Wi-Fi, and triangulation with satellites. And so it can pinpoint your location, either at home or away from home. Some of these devices include an app that would allow a caregiver to connect to your device and find you. No way, you know, if an adult child is trying to find a mother and she's not answering the phone, they can use this app, connect to the internet or through a cell phone and locate mother. It's only available for people that are registered on that app, so it's very private. Some of the new devices, such as that looks like a smartwatch there. It's a nice device, also includes all the capabilities, and it looks cool also. It's a nice device, and you're wearing a smartwatch, simpler than an Apple Watch, and it has all the capabilities of a personal emergency response system. You're just talking to the device, you press the button, you're talking to the device, and you can talk to the operator. We're up. Next, please. Also, a new kind of technology that is coming out is like the passive, non-invasive personal emergency response system. These are new devices that don't require the user to activate it. They're just set up around the house. There can be a sensor under the mattress to see, you know, if the client got out of bed, or they have sensors on the floor to detect falls. You can use cameras. So they have all this new technology that's coming out that is activated automatically without the user. And it's coming out. It's not as popular yet, but eventually it's going to be used more widely used. They're used a lot in housing, like in seniors, independent living facilities, or places like that. Next. So this slide tells you also that having a medical alert button at home saves a lot of money. A lot of the falls happen at home when you are alone, and the sooner you get help, the quicker issues can get resolved. For example, if you fall at home and if you don't have a medical alert, a personal emergency response system to alert your family or a medical service that you fell and you need help, you can be lying on the floor for many hours until you get help, as opposed to just pressing a button, getting help right away. It could be just somebody like the ambulance coming over to help you do a lift assist. That's what they do. And if you don't need transport to a hospital, you know, they just make sure you're okay and you stay home, as opposed to being on the floor or in the tub for hours. And by then, issues get more complicated. So it's always better to get help as soon as possible. Saves money and it's better for you. Next. Okay, so there is a slide for questions, which I'm sure we're going to get later, I hope. So I'm done with my presentation. There's one more slide or with my information, but that's going to be posted later. Thank you. I'm all done.
Thank you so much, Alex. That was very helpful. I know we will have some follow-up questions for you as well. And our last speaker, before we get to the question section, is Mark Surabian, the Assistive Technology Consultant at the Marlene Myerson JCC on the Upper West Side. I bet nobody had that title in life until fairly recently. So thank you for joining us, Mark.
Thank you, Senator Krueger, and to your staff for inviting me again. I really appreciate it. It's a pleasure to speak to your constituency and anybody else that watches this video. And the funny thing about assistive technology is that it's been around since the beginning of the 20th century. We've been adapting things especially for veterans, to make the world more accessible. You know, back in the First World War, we actually made communication machines, so to speak, for people who lost their voices during the war. Now you progress, over 100 years later, and the tools that we've invented are amazing. And most importantly, the way people look at accessibility has changed. We've spent all this time raising the past generations to believe that everybody deserves access in this world. And because of that, the new inventors always try to accommodate the people in their communities. Everybody deserves access. And I will tell you really simply, as someone that's been doing this for 40 years, I've worked with about 10,000 people, and I would argue that there is access for anyone. And you'll see as I go through the presentation what I'm talking about. Anyone wants a part of their life back and they want to participate, there's a way to do it. Just believe that, and then find someone like myself and others who do this. We have a free service at the JCC, and we'll try to help you find the tools that you could use to access things that you used to do and want to still be able to do. Our service is free. I can meet at the JCC or on Zoom, and we don't have any devices to give you, but we do have a lot of advice and support. And today I'm going to show you a lot of things that are actually free. I posted in the, I just put a link in the chat so you can look at the PDF of today's presentation with me. Let me bring that up right now. And here's my email address as well. So athelp@me.com. I mostly work with children, but as I've become an older adult, I realize that there are a lot of other people out there that need my assistance. My specialty really was working with people who are older, who have severe physical disabilities, primarily ALS, muscular dystrophy, et cetera. Multiple sclerosis, and finding access for them in very significant ways that I'll show you in just a minute. Our field is huge, so it covers all these areas, from adaptive equipment to communication devices to supports for hearing, home automation, and even wearable technologies. And there are specialists in each of these areas. I'm a generalist, so I always won't have the specific answer for you, but I will be able to guide you in the right direction. We have simple things that are out there that help you, and you've seen these things in your daily lives. Just being able to get out of a car seat and twist. My sister has multiple sclerosis, can't lift her right leg very easily. So to get out of a car, her little seat cushion actually twists and helps her get out. We have mobile alert systems that are adapted phones. We have things for accessible tools for leisure. I remember Mr. Gimbel coming to me years ago when he was alive because he had poor vision and he just wanted to play cards with his wife. So we found a way to adapt the cards so that he could actually, know what they are. Now we can even use them for someone who's blind, using barcodes and so forth and QR codes. A person will know what hand they have without having to even look at the cards. Vietnam vets back in the 60s and 70s started modifying a lot of fishing equipment, which was fascinating. So because some of them had lost the use of, say, one limb, and now they could cast and receive back their line with one press of a button. So there's so many adaptations for leisure, it isn't even funny. A lot of little teeny adaptations are incredible. Little 3D printed things that we can make, like things that can hold your key so you can twist it in a lock. Or being able to, for my mother-in-law, trying to pop pills out of a dispenser, like they've made that easy. There are more advanced tools too for the home in that way with regards to that as well. The one on the far left, the chair on the left, allows a person to be lowered into a tub after they just sit on the edge and then brought back up through hydraulics. Very simple, very lightweight. The chair on the far right actually helps a person. A person I worked with was, because of medication problems, was incapacitated and lying on a floor. And they were able to slide this chair under her back because they weren't able to lift her and slowly crank it so that she could be lifted up off of the floor. The last time that happened to her, she spent 2 days on the floor without anybody being able to get her up because she was heavier than the people around her could lift. So there's so many amazing tools. Wheelchairs now that fold up and go in the back of a car. There are devices like this on the right. My sister's actually using something similar because her leg doesn't move on its own, to help assist her leg to move on its own, to be able to walk with a walker. There are a lot of home automation tools that are out there. That's not really our field, but we try to help people with them. It's amazing how you can hack these tools and make them even more useful to people. And I'll show you what I mean. In my mother-in-law's situation, she is bedbound. This is her, and with her permission, I use this picture. Her home attendant is there, and I want to be able to see if the home attendant has arrived. I want to know who's taking care of her. I want to see, I can get a close-up with a camera and see her face and see if she's in pain or what's going on. And I can talk to her through the camera and through the Alexa devices that I have so that I can check on her care. And this has been really valuable while my wife or myself have been at work or we've been away. So these tools are incredible, being able to stay in touch with other people. We have a lot of tools out there that probably don't apply to most of you, but for communication. Now, these are devices right here that have pictures for little kids, but we remove the pictures and we have the words. And a lot of people have lost their voice or temporarily have lost their voice, and they can use their watch, their phone, or an iPad as a communication device with free or more affordable communication tools. That's not hard to set up. And a lot of people who've had strokes really benefit from these tools so they can stay communicating with the people around them in multiple languages. That's just another example of that. Now, hospitals are starting to get in on our field a little bit too. I was recently in a hospital and I remember they rolled an iPad up to me, and on the iPad, instead of just having videos or one button to contact the nurse, they had all of these selections here for things that I could ask specific people and alert those people to help me. Like I needed to be able to get up and, go to the restroom, or I just needed to, food or whatever assistance. Hospitals are starting to do this, and I encourage you to encourage hospitals to start to look into these tools. What I really would like them to do is put communication devices on here so that people who are incapacitated because of, say, a trach could actually communicate with their doctors and advocate for themselves. That's slow coming, but hopefully it will. There are a lot of wearable technologies out there that gauge just about everything you have. I don't know what I'd do without my watch because I have heart issues, and it really helps me check my air, the oxygen level in my blood, and it also checks my for my PVCs to see if there are any erratic PVCs. It's really valuable to me. And I'm going to pass up a few of these slides. I want to get right here to this. You already have assistive tech. This is what's really important from today. If you have a phone or you have an iPad or you have a TV, all of these things, or computers, all built into all of these things are accessibility features. You just have to dig deeply. If you look into, for example, an iPad or your iPhone, you're going to look at this accessibility button. Don't forget, like I said, this whole handout is up online in the link that I put in the chat, and also at this QR code if you want to use your camera. And everything is here for you to look at. But if you go into the accessibility area of your phone or your device, you're going to see all of these tools that I'll talk about in a second that help people. And the great thing about it is every, say, 4 or 5 months, new tools are being added as consumers say, gee, can you add a tool that helps me with this or that? And they're listening. It's taken a long time for Apple and Windows and Google to have, responded, but they're doing it. And these tools are built in and they're free, and they really help a lot of people. For example, one of the new tools that came out with the Apple devices is you're actually able to aim your phone or iPad in this situation at a microwave. And as you move your finger around, it will read what's under the area where your finger is, so that you know what button you're going to push on a device. That's an amazing built-in feature to your phone. Some of the other ones that have been added recently, if you look at this phone on the lower right, well, actually the left picture, but the little phone that's on the right of the big picture, it shows you how you can magnify the buttons on your phone and your iPad so that they're large for you to use and exclude all the other apps that you don't need. And so that's called assistive access. In the middle, live text-to-speech, as you're on FaceTime with someone, if you're having a hard time hearing them, you can actually have captioning put in right away. And then finally on the right, move my picture here, you can actually record your own voice into your phone. And if this is someone who's afraid that they're eventually going to lose their voice, it will create a digital version of your voice through AI that we can preserve your voice for whatever communication device we need in the future. So these are amazing things that are being added to devices every day. Android has the same amount and even better features. And if you need help with Android, I can help you with that. All these built-in accessibility features in their accessibility suite. Macintosh computers have the same things. Windows computers has the same things. So all of those are built in. Now, on the internet, while you're on the internet, there are a lot of things that can help you as well. And we can go over those with you. On the internet, you can actually use these things called extensions. As you're using a browser like Safari or Microsoft Edge, or in this situation, Chrome, there are these little extensions that can be loaded into the bar up above on the right, and they can be used for a lot of wonderful things. For example, this extension allows me to take a really busy web page on the left with all these ads, and I don't even know where the article is that I want to read, and it wipes it all away and cleans it up for the right. And there's the whole article I wanted to read without distractions. I can enlarge the text. I can make it speak in multiple languages, and I can read it or listen to it. There are other tools out there that help us read things on the web and highlight things and save the things that we want to save. Super simple highlighter on the left allows me to highlight all the things that I thought were important in this article I was reading on medical procedure. And then when I go back to that article the next day, it's still there saved on the web in my browser. I can explain these things in more detail. And of course, wherever you are on all your devices, including Google Docs and Microsoft Word, you can talk to your documents and type if it's become difficult for you to type your text. Now, let's just go through a couple quick things, and you'll all have to alert me when my time is up. But hearing supports. Really quickly, like I said, if you go into the accessibility features of any of your devices, and this is an iPhone, you'll see things like Conversation Boost, where using your earpods or even a hearing aid, you can boost the conversation in a room. So using your phone as a receiver to listen to everyone. Sound recognition allows you to be alerted when something like a fire alarm is going off because you might not have your hearing aids in, or like my wife, you have hearing loss but don't use hearing aids. So this will alert her on her phone, there's a baby crying, or there's a truck outside, or whatever I want it to alert, especially alarms. And then closed captioning, of course, as well, can be provided on your phone as you're having conversations with people through FaceTime, through Google Meet, etc. Another thing that's really kind of neat, and I tested this out with this bad picture on the right, is you can turn on captioning while you're making phone calls. So here I am calling 311 in the city, and down below it's saying, thank you for calling 311, and it's telling me what is being said on that call. Same thing goes for Android. And then one of the most beautiful apps that's out there, but this one costs a little bit of money, is called Ava. And it was invented for people who are deaf or have severe hearing loss. And in this situation, if your friends all downloaded the app and you're sitting at dinner together, you could have your phones in front of you. And as they're speaking, it says what they're saying on your screen. So you know all the conversations in the room at once. My wife actually uses this with her friends because she can't hear on one side of her head. Amplification devices, numerous ones out there, so many different kinds. And there are also a lot of alert systems out there. Bellman and Symphon have been making a lot of alert devices for people with severe hearing loss or deaf, so that, you know, if something goes on in their home, there's a central location that tells them all the things that are going on. Vision supports. Once again, a lot of things built into all of your devices. Speaking your screen, your whole phone can be read to you just with a touch, and I can show you how to do that. VoiceOver, don't touch that unless I'm with you. That's for people who are actually blind, and you might not get out of it if you don't read the directions on how to use it. And then Zoom, of course, you can zoom anything on the screen quickly so you can see it. So there's so many tools out there. And once again, they're built into, for vision, they're built into all of your other operating systems. And now there are also accessibility features that you can add to your computers and to your technologies, like stickers that make all the buttons a little bit larger so you can read the letters, or adapted keyboards that are actually built for people with vision challenges. Lots of different magnifiers, lots of different magnification systems, even devices that read anything. This is the OrCam. You aim it at anything and it just starts reading whatever's below it. And one of the ones that I like the most is an app out there called Be My Eyes. And it was community, where a community of people got together, and lots of people are sharing the app. And if you need help with, oh my gosh, I can't read this pill bottle, you just turn on your app and say, is anybody out there to help me? And a volunteer reads what they see on your screen to you. Now AI is taking it over, and it's actually doing it without a need for volunteers, but both are available. The city's trying to get into supporting people with vision loss and people who are blind. And these barcodes are now being put along a lot of the stations so that you can use your NaviLens app. And if you take a picture of that barcode, it will actually explain the whole layout of the entire subway below you, what time the trains are coming, all the information you need before you go down into that area. One of the ones I love playing with, and I encourage you to download, is called Seeing AI. It's a free Microsoft app that works on iPhones. And you can use it to read barcodes, and it will tell you exactly what the product is, to read anything that's in front of it, a book or even the cereal, to tell you what money, what bills you have in your hands, and even recognize people. So you can discreetly hold up your phone and it says, Mark's coming. Okay, I know that's Mark. And it tells you who that person is. There are a lot of tools that are being built for vision out there that are helping people navigate, like eSight, and they're getting better and better. So a person can actually use their own GPS in the world and guide them around cities and areas. Even in your Google Maps, there's a detailed voice guidance that gives you even more detailed explanation about how to navigate as you're walking through the city. And look at the slides, like I said, and Hadley has a whole bunch of courses on people for people to learn about how to use Android and iOS and all of your apps for vision. The Andrew Haskell Braille and Talking Book Library downtown also has a lot of tools for people who are blind or have low vision, and they can support you in your pursuit of apps and tools. Physical supports, I don't think I have that much time left. Do know that anybody can be supported. You can control all of your devices by voice. You can control it with shortcuts like these little buttons that you have on your phone, where you can just tell something to do multiple steps to save you from having to navigate the whole phone. You can make things bigger, as I said, through assistive access. You can touch them and activate your phone and access things faster. And if you really needed significant supports, we have every type of control you can imagine. For Stephen Hawking's control, that he controlled his computer with his cheek, to bring computer interfaces, to head tracking, to eye tracking. Everybody can find access physically. Everyone. There's no exceptions at all. And now finally, for cognitive supports, a lot of these things built into your phones can really support you with memory loss, or even if you have a person, say an elderly person, who you're afraid they're going to get out of the app and they're not going to be able to stay in the most important app they're in, you can actually lock them into that app with something called guided access, and they stay there and they're safe and they have the app when they need it. So many other apps that are out there, from talking calendars to tools that help us remember our medications. And there's so many safety supports to go along with that. Like we were talking about, safety for emergency call buttons, pill dispensers that are automated, self-medication apps that tell you when to take meds, devices that read all of the medical things that we have, and so on. One of the things that I love is that we're actually starting to make smart devices. I actually leave the stove on sometimes, and this one will actually tell you and help you to keep that from happening, this device. And once again, safety devices from, people have used doorbells that you can see who's out the front door, to locks that are based on combinations, or actually just a little app that you have so you can get in. There's so many tools, as I said, out there. And if you really want to go too far, they're actually starting to sell little teeny robots that come around your home. And they don't really serve any valuable purpose yet, but seniors, elder adults have said that it's kind of nice to be able to talk to a little machine and have somebody to keep you company. So it's about where we're at right now on those that are affordable. So many home automation things that I mentioned. One of the things that Amazon stepped into, and I can't tell you if it's good or not, is they're actually trying to figure out how to have remote caregiving. So if you're on vacation and your loved one is at home, Amazon can check in on them virtually and make sure people are okay. Mixed bag, but I think it's a good start in the right direction. So we talked about a lot of these things that are built in, and you've heard about watches and devices that can help locate people. Well, you can actually do that with your own phone. And with any device, as you can see here, I can find my keys, I can find my wallet because I've tagged them. I can find people in my family, and I can even, this is what's amazing, I can find my wife in a store because it will actually give me this little sensor, and I'll walk around and it will go beep, 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 beep. You're getting closer within like 2 feet. It's incredible. I can find her in a big, huge, crowded store. So there's so many tools out there. I don't think I have time, but what I want to say to you is, please be a good consumer. If you see things like this, best apps for 2021, best apps for this, best app for seniors, be very skeptical. That person did a little bit of research and called it a day. And they're just promoting whatever they think should be promoted, or someone who's paying them to promote it. Be a good consumer. If you really want to know my field deeply, it's called the Unified Listing. It's a list of all assistive technology in the entire world, 5 international databases combined, and you can find anything. And I'm always here for free to help you in any way. So thank you for your time, everyone. I appreciate it.
Wow. Well, thank you, Mark. And you had so much information, and just highlighting, nobody think you have to have written everything down. This material is going to be forwarded to you. Mark even put into chat his presentation. So if you are technology skilled and can hit on the material in your chat now, you can download it immediately as a PDF, or you can wait for us to forward it to you. So much important information from all 3 of our special guests today. I'm really, really pleased with how we found all you smart people and got you together with us this morning. And of course, there are endless questions, and some of them that came in, I think you covered already in your presentations, which is great. But I do just want to quickly take a look at some questions that came in as people were speaking, because I think they're relatively easy to answer. So I think this first one is for Alex regarding PERS devices. That person says they read that if you live in an apartment and you fall and are unconscious, 911 will not be able to find you because they won't know the apartment number. And so these are only good if you live in your own home, which is obviously not most of us. Would you clarify that, Alex? And all 3 guests should please just turn on their cameras and their videos so that we can see and hear you. Thank you.
I missed the first part of what kind of device was the one that activated?
PERS. I think that's what you were talking, the
we-
personal emergency response system.
Yeah,
They're
usually
concerned that doesn't find you in an apartment.
when a medical alert service sets you up with an emergency response system, they have all your information, your apartment number, your address. So that's part of the initial profile. So if you use a personal emergency response system, they have all that information and they'll be able to locate you. Also, the devices that have GPS will find you, and between the Wi-Fi location and all these other technologies and your address on your profile, they will find you. I never
think you're
had
then, yes, go ahead. I think you're answering also a second question for you. Can these be effective if you're not at your home and you've traveled somewhere?
right.
You're saying they have a GPS
The
that
GPS can locate you anywhere that there is a cellular phone service. So yes, they will find you. It's pretty accurate, and it works.
Do we know if it works out of country as well, or is that a more complicated question?
If you are signed up with a provider, that provider will probably be an American provider. So it's for local mainly.
Okay. Thank you.
And I hope when you travel, you don't travel alone. So you have somebody else that can help you.
Yeah, I was going to say
Fine.
that also. I think you're exactly right. Thank you. Let's see. This is a really challenging one for anyone. Are there assistive supports that work for a person who refuses to do what they need to do and gets into difficulty when things go undone? I don't think you can make people use these things or set it up so that they I don't know, I have a fantasy that technology will yell at me occasionally to tell me to do things I've been avoiding, but I don't think any of this actually yells at you when you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Does it? Oh, Mark has his hand up.
You know what's funny though is, like, for example, people don't realize that you can take Alexa and you can pre-program things in. So my mother-in-law asked me the same questions a lot of time that I know she can answer, and it really annoys me. So I just put it in. She asks Alexa, "Who's my home attendant? What's her name?" And it will tell her, because I pre-program stuff in there. But as someone with really significant ADHD, I have all my devices tell me things to do all day, because it's better than having a human being tell me, because I don't take it as personally. Mark, did you do this today? And I have it do it kind of aggressively. So there's a way to twist it if you want. Just a different way to look at it.
Tom?
Yeah, I would just add, and first of all, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joining Mark and Alex, I'm learning a lot from both of you today, so it's really helpful. I will say that we come up across a lot of these social issues a lot, because many of us are caregivers of older adults or people that need assistive technology, and also ourselves can be older adults that need a little bit of help to do these things. There are passive systems that you can set up that have monitoring sensors that can be installed in people's homes. So if the person that's reluctant to quote unquote do what they're supposed to do is willing to let you work with them a little bit and come in and install something that will monitor falls or monitor an emergency, they can set up something that's passive, and you can be a kind of an external person that's able to see if there's some need to call help or go intervene. And then the other piece of it is just that many times assistive devices are also lifestyle devices. So a person getting a smartwatch, if you wanted to purchase a thing like that for one of your loved ones or friends or relatives, as you set them up with a smartwatch, or you set them up with a mainstream device like Alexa, you can add some elements in there that include shared communications and shared tracking of goals that they may say, well, I'm not really going to use that, but I don't mind if you check in on me periodically, or you get the alert if there's a sensor goes off in my smart home or something like that. So those social collaborations sometimes don't have to be a chore. They can actually be sort of a, hey, let's do this together kind of experience for people. We find that pretty helpful.
So 2 questions that have popped right away. Tom, is there a list of all the courses that OATS offers?
The quickest way to get them is just to go to seniorplanet.org, and the front page is going to say upcoming classes, and you just click on it, and it will show you all the classes that are coming on the digital site there. And then if you're going to go to the Senior Planet Center at 25th Street here in Manhattan, then just I would call ahead and they can show you a whole list of the classes, either depending if you use email, we can email it, or simply talk it over on the phone. You could also call the OATS hotline and ask that information, and the OATS hotline person will help you get access to the right class.
Great. And I think both for Mark and Alex, oh wait, Wendy from my staff has her hands up. I'm not sure if that means something. Nope, it went away, fine. Mark and Alex, you both were listing off so many different devices. Is the resource site, the resource material that we're going to be sending out to everyone, describe how you would go looking to find it or buy it, or any of that information? Is that sort of connected to your presentations?
Let me let Alex answer first, because he has.
Yeah, on my slide, you have, I'm actually a dealer of emergency response systems. So if you call me, I can see if one of the devices I have can help you, or if not, I can connect you with a provider who can assist you.
Okay,
So,
and these
yeah.
items all cost money, right? So
Yeah.
you'll also let people know
Yes.
what those costs are and if it's ongoing cost or startup costs.
I wanted to add that on top of all the Alexa and all those AI devices that are available, for some people that don't have close by relatives or caregivers that live around or available 24 hours a day, having a system that connects to a 24-hour monitoring center, it's a good idea. If you expect your daughter to be awake at 3 in the morning, listening, waiting for your phone call, and that might be an issue, but a monitor device is always, is a good solution too.
It is.
And
And
Mark, yes.
yeah, sure, Senator. For assistive tech, it's a far more complicated answer, so it would depend on what the tech is for. If it's medically necessary, like a wheelchair or a communication device, then we can find funding for that. If it's something more like Alexa and tools like that, that's a whole nother conversation. If it's tools like we talked about that are built into your devices, well, those are free if you have a device. And then finally, if you're still in the working world, a lot of older adults are, then you have a right to a lot of tools to make things accessible through state agencies that can keep you at work. The challenge in that is not really finding the funding, but perhaps finding the person to do the evaluation to find you the right tool. And that's why I recommend people come to me for free first. We try to figure it out and then try to send you to someone that's more sophisticated and can do an assessment for you, like an occupational therapist or whoever.
Got it. I was going to ask, was it a category of occupational therapy that would involve? Because I think Medicare and Medicaid do actually cover occupational therapy costs under certain conditions. So great. Okay, so now we're sort of on affordability issues and people's concerns and I'll just open it up to any and all. Are there discounted internet rates for seniors? And is anything can be done now that the Affordable Connectivity Program ended?
I'll take that one. Yes, there are discounted rates that are available by company at the moment for seniors for internet. And there's also the Lifeline program, which is for phone service for low-income people as well. So if you are low income and are interested in subsidized phone service, which may save you money that you can use to purchase Wi-Fi if you want, you should contact your cellular provider and ask if you are eligible for Lifeline. And if you want to find out about low-cost internet, you should ask your internet provider if they have a low-cost option for people. I know that T-Mobile and AT&T and Comcast and others have low-cost options that are vary depending on geography and on qualifications. But at the moment, now that the federal subsidy program has ended temporarily, we hope, we're kind of all having to cobble together the privately provided low-cost options here in New York.
Got it.
We do expect that to get changed in a few years because there is a lot of movement in Washington to bring those subsidies back. But at the moment, we're in a gap time.
Right. And it's a funny question. I don't know that any of you actually know this. Do you know which provider of internet service has the fastest service in New York City?
You're going to get a lot of argument on that one. It's anybody with fiber to the home is going to be the fastest. Fiber connection is, and different providers have it in different locations. Not every provider can provide fiber depending on your zip code and where you live and what kind of building you're in. So you can try each one, but typically fiber optic to the home is considered the fastest, and that's extremely fast and more than most people need.
Yeah, most people don't need the most, unless you're a gamer or, you stream on 5 different screens, you don't need the fastest.
Yeah, people tend to overthink how much internet connectivity they have. Really, if you're getting what they call 100 megs downstream, which is a standard that people use, that's more than adequate for virtually all households.
Right. And if we have an older New York gaming crowd, we'll have to have another webinar for that topic because you lose me immediately then. Sorry. So we did just put up in chat the Lifeline information Tom referenced, which is critically important for low-income people for phone service, and it turns out other correlated services. So if you might be eligible for that and you don't know about it, please take a look at that or follow up with my staff because it's a tremendous underutilized program for low-income people and access to connectivity. Are there virtual classes that can provide answers to tech questions online? I mean, I know OATS has virtual hearing.
Sorry, that's me.
Oh, stop that. Are there virtual classes? Does OATS offer online answers to questions through your agency?
We certainly provide them at Senior Planet, so they can take the virtual classes, which are organized by topic. It depends really on the specific technology you're trying to learn. And if you're looking for if you need more longer term, if you need multiple classes over time, sometimes we provide that, or we can refer you to other virtual classes online that you could take as well.
Great.
But there are quite a few out there, yeah.
And here's a universal question once you get on all of this technology. How do you block unwanted emails, phone texts, and spam phone calls? So you've mastered all of this, you're using all this technology, and then like me, every morning you get up and go, egads, how can I have 100 unwanted emails and texts just between when I went to bed and this morning? So any good suggestions there?
We have a few. Our answer to that is, first of all, pick your mainstream device that you're going to use. So whether it's email or text or different, social media apps that you're using. And whenever you're using a device, you are immediately going to have that challenge of these unwanted spam. Also, a lot of it is fraud and people trying to scam you. So these are channels into your home and into your information. And so you need to adopt what we call digital hygiene practices with each device or platform that you start to work with. Each one is going to have certain settings that you can adjust. They can be about whether people that are not in your friend group are able to message you. That's one of the settings on most of the social media platforms like Facebook. On your email, you can block emails that come in and report them as spam. So that can be a way of limiting things. On your smartphone, you can do the same thing, but with texts and unwanted calls. But unfortunately, we live in a world in which there's a lot of unwanted people trying to contact you through every channel that you're going to be connecting with. And it has become just part of the process to make sure that we're trying to limit that by just, rejecting those messages and calls. One other thing to mention here is, many people have a separate email that they use for sort of commerce or external stuff. So I have a personal email that I use for my friends and family. And then I set up a separate free email on Gmail that I call, my commercial, whatever random name I gave it. And when I sign up for something for a website, or I am, registering for concert tickets or something like that, I use the other email because that becomes my public email that gets shared a lot out there. And that limits the amount of spam I get to my personal contact information. Having a sort of a separate system for your publicly facing stuff might be useful for some people.
Everything Tom said is really valuable, and I'm sure OATS and Senior Plan have a lot of support that can show you how to do this. And Senator Krueger, I think it just points out that might be one of your future presentations, to bring in some of the big groups like the phone companies and so forth, and say, how are you protecting people and what can they do? And I have to tell the folks in the audience, all of us on this panel are tech people, and we get played too. So don't feel bad if you think you're being fooled by someone. How do you think they hack into companies? I mean, we get played too. That's how convincing a lot of these people are. And if you're really bored, but Tom might disagree with me, I love talking to the people that call and try to dupe me on the phone, and just let them hang on for a nice 10 minutes and waste their life, and then go, don't you have something better to do than to take advantage of older adults? Bye, so if you're really bored, but
My wife gets
I would
upset
only
when I
argue and
do
say,
that.
don't talk to them. Just put the phone on the counter and then hang up 10 minutes later.
Great idea.
My wife gets upset when I do that.
I've been told that people get really loud whistles, and then when somebody's calling them to scam them, they just blow their head out with the loud whistles. So there are different approaches.
The problem here is that many people are, these are systems that are widespread.
Oh yeah. Oh
that
yeah.
are many different companies and entities and even government agencies are benefiting from a very porous and very negatively affecting, like a system that really victimizes older people. And the individuals that are calling you are typically very low income, people living in India or somewhere that are trying to figure out a way to feed their family. And this is not what they want to be doing all day long as individuals. So if we could try to keep a little bit of a context there, sometimes we need to fight the policy things that Senator Krueger is active in up in Albany, and make sure we have good regulation of the telecommunications industry and regulation of how we handle online fraud and ways to prosecute it and make sure people are protected.
So I think this is a crucial
Very
set of
true.
topics. And by the way, we are going to host an event on scam prevention in November. So that's already in process. And my office is developing a mailer about what to do to avoid some of the more common kinds of scams,
The
because
best
it
thing is
is ubiquitous.
the
Yes,
best thing is to hang up, because a lot of times they're asking for specific words, and then they use your yes and your no's to access other systems. So
Yeah.
yes, I know, it's amazing what they can do with scamming. So if you think you have an issue and you're listening today and you want to follow up with my office because you actually believe you have been scammed, don't wait for the November event to reach out to us. But just know that you'll be getting because you're all on my master lists, you'll be getting notice about the November scam event with experts about things to watch out for and to do. And there'll be an updated mailing. We've done one earlier, but it's more scams, more things to worry about. And they do target older people, no question about it.
Can I add one little thing here, just very
Yes.
briefly? One thing, when I started getting too many scam phone calls, and I get them every day, what I did was you can change your outgoing message on your phone, that records for your voicemail, and just say, I don't pick up from phone calls where I don't recognize the phone number. So please leave a message and make sure to tell me your name so I can get back to you. And I promise to return your call promptly. And then if I don't recognize the number, I don't pick up the phone, because every time you pick up the phone, you're telling the company that's calling you that there's a live phone line there. And it just encourages them to sell that phone number to somebody else as a live phone number that has a person on it. So if you don't recognize the phone number, you don't have to pick it up. Let them leave a message, get the message. If it's somebody you want to talk to, you call them back. You control these devices, and it really helps you be in the driver's seat.
Great.
but providers like Verizon have apps on the phone that would identify spam also. So
That they often don't do it. So
Okay,
there's a whole
so
system there.
I must admit, I love this question because I have it also. So you're using different apps on your computer and you're looking at different things, and they'll sometimes say, do you want to subscribe? But you don't. Can you keep using it if they just ask you that question? YouTube is a common example. YouTube says, do you want to have a subscription? I always don't do it because I don't want more subscriptions, but I do use YouTube sometimes. Does it matter?
It does. Most apps have different tiers of benefit based on whether you're subscribing. And many apps provide free access and some level of service for free, like YouTube. But even on YouTube, you get ads. So if you don't subscribe to YouTube, you're going to watch videos and the ads will pop up. But if you do subscribe, then the ads are not there. And so it depends on how much you want to sell your attention to YouTube by watching ads, right? So there's certain levels of almost all apps now have a subscription level that allows you to access more features. And some of them, like the fitness apps, are much, much more useful if you do subscribe. But I use a lot of technology. I only subscribe to maybe 10 apps total all year. And several of them are like communications apps like Substack.
And for the assistive tech world, some of these things are really expensive. So there are usually trials of everything. And for subscriptions and stuff, 30-day trials. And then some of these apps that we use leave one or two features on for you even after the app expires, which is wise because that app is always in your face. It's always a little useful. And they're always like, if you want to get it again, you can join. But so it's always a little different in our world. But yeah, you don't always have to sign up for everything.
But you do have to manage those apps. You're right, Mark. Once you sign up for something, it'll keep renewing unless you turn it off.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to figure out how to turn it off. So you got to be a little bit sensitive to, how many of these programs you want to be subscribing to. Because once you put in $10 a month, that's $120 a year. And then if it re-ups again next year, you're out another $120. It does really add up. So be, cautious. If there's something that you absolutely are going to use, then subscription may be appropriate for you, but then make sure you make a note of what it is you're subscribing to, how it's getting paid, and that you have a date in the future that you want to revisit that and see if you want to cancel that subscription because people have them running on their bank cards in the background and don't know that they're subscribed to some service that hasn't let them go. And it happens quite a lot, especially for low-income folks as well, that come to us and want us to help them with it. So you can also get support from your local service providers or librarians or people at Senior Planet who can help you get unsubscribed from things that you don't want to be paying for anymore.
So there's a whole series of questions that came in that basically the theme is everybody in government and a lot of things in business are all now web-based. They don't even have phone numbers. If you call a phone number, it's telling you to walk through a tree of different buttons for different things when you just need to talk to a human being. And they're very concerned that a lot of older people without the technology skills or the equipment are really sort of being forced out of the ability to get things done, including really important things like dealing with Social Security or the city and state tax departments or licensing issues. And I certainly know that from my daily life, everything is on the internet, and they often don't even have a phone option listed on the website. Or you go into a phone system where you press buttons and you're hoping to find a human, but you just never get to a human. And so, there's lots of different examples, people concerned about getting access to the city's Department of Social Services, Social Security. Everything on Social Security now is you have to set up an account online and then you go deal with it. There's not one answer, but what's a good answer? Do we have to just do a better job in government of learning how to make technology more accessible?
Yes, and we have a little graphic on this that's exactly what you're talking about. And is it okay if I share just for 1 second?
Sure.
We call it the adoption squeeze. And the idea here is that if you look at where people are adopting technologies here, I don't know if you should be able to see a graphic here that says adoption squeeze at the top.
Yeah.
There are stages of technology adoption. On the left-hand column, you get people at the top that are like early stage adopters, and they get sort of new technology that they're using. But there's still a lot available below those adopters that are, medical or government or transportation tools that are for everybody. But as technology becomes more mature, you go from left to right in this chart. On the right-hand side, you get all of these adopters that have access to different transportation tools and dining tools and things like that. But the very last adopters, the latest adopters, are more and more isolated. They're in that bottom corner and they're squeezed by their late adoption characteristic there. This is something that is an issue for older adults across the board here, that adoption squeeze. So when you're the latest adopter on what is a very commonly used technology like smartphones or the internet, you become more and more isolated, and government agencies eventually stop supporting your low-tech solution to something. So, you think about the telephone as a basic tool, and government assumes that you have a telephone now, for the most part. Virtually everybody does. And that's a piece of technology that there are some people who choose not to spend the money and not to have it. But imagine the consequence for that if you're trying to get a doctor's appointment or something like that. It becomes more and more challenging. So the reality is we need to fight from a policy standpoint to make sure that those dual channels are available. Which is why a lot of the government officials were fighting bank closures, because we want the banks to keep at least some physical offices available so people can come in and do their banking. Not everybody can use the online banking resources. And also some of these things require literacy and English language literacy and physical capability to use these devices that is not universally available to everyone. And so we have to fight to make sure that critical tools are available through government agencies that you can go in person and get that help or have somebody help you for it. It's a really big problem, and it's something that we all have to keep managing. AARP has been very active on this, I know, as well.
So, and when you look at the accessibility of these websites, you know, in the old days, we just had to make them digital because people were responsible for using their device to access, say, the government website. But now the government websites should have their own features built in to enlarge text, to have screen readers, et cetera. But even going further, I think, Senator Krueger, one of the problems that's really out there is you need to put these websites in plain speech to make them more cognitively available or for translation. I think that's one of the biggest problems so many people have. They have a mobile device, like Tom's saying, and they get there and like, where do I go next? This is the most confusing website. And so just that navigation, making it more cognitively supportive of people is the new trend for these web developers. They really have to make sure things are clear and straightforward and easily navigated.
Right.
Yeah.
So we only have time for one more question. It's amazing how much there is. So, okay, so Mark, you were talking about all these different devices. What's the best phone for a senior with really poor vision, in your opinion? Are you allowed to answer?
I think I could. I think, well, first off, like Tom keeps saying, it's an affordability issue too. The Android phones are a lot more affordable, and they have just the same features as iOS, you know, as Apple phones.
Yeah.
They're just a little harder to use. You know, you have to actually read the material on how to use things. But either phone is effective for helping a person with vision needs. Either phone, either group of phones, all the phones, Google phones, Microsoft phones are all good enough for this. I think people choose iPhones because, once again, from a cognitive standpoint, iPhone has figured out how to make this so easy to use that a 2-year-old can navigate the phone. You know, that's not because your 2-year-old's smart. That's because the phone really is at a 2-year-old level, to be honest with you. So,
Mark, are you saying our 2-year-olds aren't smart? Is that what you're saying?
I love it when a parent says, "Look how smart my kid is." No.
One thing to add to that, Liz, I'm just sorry,
Yes.
very important is the best phone to use is often the phone that the person you interact with the most is also using. If you talk to your daughter every day, or you talk to your best friend every day, and they're using an Android phone, or they're using an iPhone 15 or whatever they're using, it's really helpful to be on the same exact phone and platform, because they can share screenshots of everything they're using is going to overlap with what you're using. And if they're going to be helping you at all, it's really going to help you to be on that platform. So just, it will save a lot of, it's hard to predict how many things are going to be benefited from that. But
Wow.
that compatibility issue with the people you talk to every day is really an issue.
That's a really good and logical thing. All right, I have to move us off to the thanking you profusely, Tom, Alex, and Mark. We could stay on with more questions. They keep coming in through chat. I just can't get to them. I want to remind everyone our next Older Adult Roundtable will take place Thursday, September 26th, 10 to 11:30. It's on advocacy issues that impact you. Presenters will discuss initiatives on climate change, expanding services to help you age in place, and how to assess information about the November election. But we won't be telling you how to vote. Well, we'll tell you how to vote if you need help learning how to vote. We're not going to tell you who to vote for. Let me just clarify that. This November's election is probably the most important in our lifetimes. October 26th is the deadline to register to vote, as well as to submit your absentee or vote by mail ballot requests online or by email. So remember, you've got some deadlines coming up before November to make sure that you can vote. Early voting starts on October 26th and goes through November 3rd. And as I always say, you should think about Election Day on November 5th as your last chance to vote, not your first chance to vote. And while we know that we will be choosing our next president this November, New Yorkers will have the opportunity to choose among candidates for U.S. Senate, Congress, State Senate, and State Assembly. It's a pretty big ballot. And what's also important for people to know is they need to turn their ballot over if they go to vote, because that's where they will get questions about constitutional amendment proposals at the state level and city charter proposed changes for city issues. The proposal one that I'm very vested in, without telling you how to vote, is the Equal Rights Amendment, which I was the lead sponsor on, which would change our state constitution to prohibit discrimination by the government on the basis of age, disability, ethnicity, national origin, sex, including sexual orientation, gender, identity, including pregnancy and pregnancy outcomes, and your right to privacy in abortion decisions. These protections would be in addition to our current protections on the basis of race, color, and creed and religion. Then we have four more proposals within the context of the city charter, actually 5 proposals in the city charter. But you can look online to the New York City Campaign Finance Board's website to learn more about them. All election related info is on the Board of Election website at Vote.nyc, and you can register to vote and apply for an absentee ballot through that same site. You can also feel free to reach out to my office if you need help applying for a mail-in ballot or locating your poll site. Again, we're not giving you advice on who you should vote for and whether you should vote yes or no, but we want to make sure everybody knows that this is a big election with lots of stuff on that ballot, both sides. Finally, I want to remind everyone about the growth in COVID. We just sent out an email alert about the fact that the new COVID vaccine is available, mostly through our drugstore system at this point, although your doctor's office may have it, but probably the easiest way to get yourself an appointment for a COVID vaccination shot is through one of the pharmacies near you. And I urge everyone to get one as soon as possible, particularly as older people. We are more vulnerable to getting a worse case of COVID and having much more trouble recovering. Our hospitals are already filling up. We know that vaccines work. And while nobody's running around saying you must wear a mask, frankly, it's probably a good idea if you're going to be in crowded situations, because you neither want to be at risk of getting COVID from someone, or if you're not feeling great and you're not sure you might have it, you don't want to be giving it to someone. So thank you all for joining us today. And again, thank my partners in technology for older New Yorkers and being out there helping us. And there's so much information you all gave us. I'm really looking forward to revisiting all your materials when they get sent out to everybody. I think my staff said by early next week, since it's already Thursday. So again, thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next webinar. Take care.
Thank you, Senator Krueger. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.